Did you see it? CNN's Scott Jennings clashed with Abby Phillip and his fellow panelists earlier this week, prompting a heated debate online.
The discussion was over the Save America Act, a bill that requires voters to prove they are U.S. citizens when they register to vote and requires them to show a valid photo ID at polling places. Take a listen to this spicy exchange.
The SAVE Act, that's exactly what we're talking about. That is actually going to continue to disenfranchise overwhelmingly a lot of people of color. There are so many civil rights organizations that have run the data.
Are you saying that black voters
the
are
SAVE
too
Act
dumb to know what's good for them? I mean,
it sounds pretty,
condescending to me.
The SAVE Act
you got three-quarters of black voters who want voter ID.
The host, Abby Phillips, tried to clarify the concerns that some have with the bill, which led to this.
Most Americans don't have a passport. Many Americans don't have access to their birth certificate. Many women, a majority of women who change their names for marriage have to provide additional proof that they've changed their legal names in order to register to vote.
I have heard Democrats
Scott, why
make these
don't
same
you actually
arguments.
respond to the substance of what I'm saying?
I am, and
as
the substance
opposed
is
to making this about something that it's not.
You're saying,
it's not just about voter ID.
married
It's
women,
also about
black
who has
voters,
access
and rural people are too stupid to figure out how to register to vote.
That exchange happened on Wednesday night, the same evening that the House passed the bill by a slim 5-vote margin. Now heads to the Senate, where it's racked up at least 49 co-sponsors, according to Senator Mike Lee on X.
But those concerns about accessibility persist among civil rights advocates and among Democrats on the Hill. According to the BBC, an estimated 21 million Americans do not have documents proving their citizenship readily available, and 2.6 million lack any form of government-issued photo ID. And many are especially concerned about the barriers this bill may introduce for people who have undergone a name change, like married women. Take a listen to Illinois Congresswoman Lauren Underwood.
The Save America Act would require your passport or your birth certificate to match your current name in order to be able to vote. If y'all got married and changed your name, your birth certificate would not match your current name. Nearly 69 million women in America have a birth certificate that does not match their current name, and therefore 69 million American women would no longer be eligible to vote.
But despite the concerns, voter ID laws are incredibly popular. Here's CNN's own analyst, Harry Enton.
I think a lot of people make the argument that people of color, non-white Americans, have a harder time procuring a photo ID to vote. But even here, take a look here, favorite photo ID to vote. 85% of white people favor it, 82% of Latino, 76% of black Americans favor it. So the bottom line is this: voter ID is not controversial in this country. A photo ID to vote is not controversial in this country. It is not controversial by party, and it is not controversial by race.
The president has also come out in favor of the legislation alongside big names like Elon Musk and even Nicki Minaj. The rapper and recent Trump ally has been seen active on social media, urging people to call their representatives to pass the bill despite not being a U.S. citizen herself. I think she said she is a U.S. citizen and she got her Trump gold card, so I'm not sure if we have that actually on record, but she said that she's been a citizen for a while, so I don't know what the actual deal is. I'm taking that from her X account.
Yeah, good for her. Look, I love when people bring up the married women who changed their last name thing. Been there, done that. Mm-hmm. My maiden name was Athey. Changed it when I got married. And if you went through the process of changing your name, then you would have all of the documents that you need to register to vote. When you change your name, you have to get a new social security card. If you have a passport, you have to get a new passport. If you have a driver's license, you have to get a new driver's license. And throughout that process, you have to present your original birth certificate and then your marriage license, which is provided to you. You get 3 copies free when you file those with your local government office. So everything you need is right there. And you would have already had to do that, by the way, again, to be able to drive, to be able to get a mortgage, to pay rent, all of those things. So to me, bringing up the married women changing the last name thing is a little bit silly. The process is already annoying just because you have to go wait in the Social Security office,
a lot of people told me
right?
about how long it is.
It does take a long time, but if you're already doing it, you have all the documents that you need to register to vote or to show the ID at the polling place.
I think the numbers are just what they are. Like you saw the polling at CNN that most people are in support of this. And when you talk to people that are probably in both of our worlds, they're like, what's the problem?
Right.
And I think what the concern, particularly because because we can't really relate in this space that we're in, is that there are people that actually don't have photo ID. And so there are just real concerns that exist there. 18% of citizens over the age of 65 don't actually just have their photo ID readily available. This is 16% of Latino voters, 25% of Black voters, 15% of low-income voters. So, there's a concern for the marriage change also because if people don't go through all the steps, a lot of people get married and maybe didn't do it. Like one of my friends didn't do it for 2 years. She didn't go through the actual name change and she got married, and I don't know why, but you call it irresponsible, you can call it wasting time. She didn't go through the proper documentation and get her license changed and all that stuff. She should, but she didn't.
Well,
and I
but
think
in that case, she could still use her birth certificate because her name wouldn't have been legally changed.
Right, if she has it readily available. And I think that even the law, if you look at it, it just appears to be neutral, right? It's just neutral to supporters. But when you think about the elderly voters, the low-income voters, recently married voters, or the rural voters, you have to remember that some people don't have their original birth certificate. They may not even have a passport to be like that second support of showing your identity. A lot of people in this country don't have their passport. Replacing those documents requires fees. It requires travel. Some people actually don't have access to travel. Again, it's not really in my world, so that's why it's easy for people on TV to say they can't relate to this because we can easily travel and live in big cities for the most part. A study from last year showed that 1 in 4 households are living paycheck to paycheck. That's a reality in this country. The census showed that 10% to 11% of Americans are living below the poverty line. That's a reality in this country. So when you think about birth certificates, passports, transportations, time off work, no Wi-Fi, things that maybe don't make sense in our particular world, there are a lot of reasons why people probably aren't able to get access to things that most people are saying, this is so easy, this is so silly, just solve it. And so that's probably part of the argument that's coming that should have been made as they're discussing it. There's actually just realistic things happening in today's society that may not be relatable to the person on TV discussing it, but people at home who are less fortunate or have hindrances or are not as mobile are like, I don't have time or time off work to go do these things.
Yeah, I grew up in a small rural town, so I definitely knew people who struggle with those things. I mean, I certainly wasn't raised well off, but I never knew anybody that didn't have access to a driver's license, a birth certificate, social security card. A lot of those documents you can actually get in the mail if you pay like a $10 fee. I mean, I know $10 is worth more to some people than others, but I do think a lot of this just comes down to if you're not willing to put in the work to get the driver's license, maybe I'll say the quiet part out loud, should you really be voting?
Well, that's the thing. It's like basically the law is like, well, if you're going to be lazy in this regard, you don't deserve to vote. But we have made in this country that everybody deserves to vote, no matter which perspective we want to judge them from. I could say that when I get married, I'm going to go change my documents immediately. And I might not have my birth certificate, but if I don't do it, then I don't deserve to vote. But I don't believe that's true. It might be that I was super busy or it wasn't a priority to me until I realized on election month that I wouldn't be able to vote without these things. So there are probably a lot of instances that speak from a place where you are very responsible and organized. And then a lot of other people, like I said, the 10% of the population that would like to participate in elections that people fought for historically for them to participate in that really just don't have the $10 to spend on that. They want to spend it on groceries.
I also think, this wouldn't be such a conversation if we didn't have the country flooded with 20 million illegal aliens during the past administration. I know that there's a lot of studies that claim voter fraud is rare. It's also very hard to find, right? And so I don't think we know the true number of fraudulent votes that happen every election cycle, but we do know that it does happen. And there are some elections that are decided by 6, 12 votes. And so I do think it's important that if people show up to the polls that they are able to produce proof that they are who they say they are.
And when you see the main criticism coming from civil rights organizations, you have to remember like post Jim Crow era, Reconstruction, post that time, there were actual laws that were put in place that appeared to be neutral on paper, but they also provided poll taxes or literary tests or grandfather clauses or good character tests that all prevented and have shown in numbers, large numbers, people of color from voting. So civil rights organizations, some of them are specifically put in place to protect stuff like that from ever happening again.
North Carolina passed a voter ID law, it might have been 10 years ago at this point, and black turnout actually went up after they passed it.
Well, that's one state, but if you look at Louisiana, voters dropped 130,000 in 1896 because of some of these laws I talked about historically.
Right, but I'm talking about like modern law, not a poll tax.
Yeah,
right? But just voter ID.
I'm talking about that historically, civil rights organizations fight so this never happens. That's why they exist. That's why they need to exist.
All right, up next, a CBS News producer announced her exit from the company in a fiery memo yesterday. Don't go anywhere.